Hello and welcome back to the course on the Introduction to Solid State Physics. Till now we have discussed the classical free electron theory, and now we are discussing about the Sommerfeld theory, which is the quantum mechanical corrections to the classical model. And in the Sommerfeld theory we know what is the need for the quantum corrections, and also we have studied how the energy levels become discrete when a particle is confined to move inside a particular box. And in the last class we have learned about the density of states, that means how many states are available per unit volume in a particular energy range. Today we will try to find out what is the occupation probability of these states. That means if you consider a classroom, there are suppose 60 benches are there and there are some 30 students. So how the students are going to occupy these 60 seats is what is called as the occupation probability. Similarly, from the density of states we know how many states are available for the system, for the electrons, and the Fermi function is going to give us the occupation probability of this particular states. And this Fermi function is a direct consequence of the Pauli's exclusion principle, because we know that a quantum state can be occupied only by two electrons of opposite spins, and we define the Fermi level as the highest occupied level at absolute 0 Kelvin, and above absolute 0 Kelvin the distribution of the states with the electrons is governed by the Fermi-Dirac statistics, and this is how the distribution function looks like. This gives us an idea about the probability that a state with energy E is occupied. We know that initially the lowest energy is occupied, then gradually the higher energy states are occupied, but up to how much energy levels these are occupied and what happens when we increase the temperature beyond 0 Kelvin that is what is governed by the Fermi function. So now let us look at this function at a particular temperature. Let us plot this function with respect to the energy at a particular temperature. So let us do that. So this is the plot of the function at a particular temperature with respect to the energy. That means in the x-axis we are having the energy, and in the y-axis we are having the Fermi function. We see that at absolute 0 Kelvin it is a step function. So that means all the states below EF are occupied and all the states above the energy EF are empty. But when we increase the temperature we can see some smearing out of the energy levels take place beyond the Fermi level. That means some low energy states which are near to the Fermi level are excited, and we can see the filling of the electrons in the higher states which are more than the EF. So the states which are lying above the Fermi level are also occupied with respect to the given function as we increase the temperature. And as we gradually increase the temperature we can see how this smearing out keeps on increasing. So here we can see that at E equal to EF, Fe is equal to 0.5. So all these functions are going to intersect at this point 0.5. So Fe is always equal to 0.5 at E is equal to EF. And at 0 Kelvin we know that for energies more than the Fermi energy the occupation probability is 0, and energies less than the Fermi energy the occupation probability is 1. So now we are having two important regimes. One is T equal to 0 Kelvin and the other one is T greater than 0 Kelvin. At absolute 0 Kelvin it is straightforward, all the states up to the Fermi energy level are occupied and beyond that all the states are empty, whereas at temperatures above 0 Kelvin the occupation probability plays a role and the occupation of the states is governed by the given Fermi function. So now let us focus what happens at T equal to 0 Kelvin, and let us find out the carrier concentration at absolute 0 Kelvin. So this is what happens at absolute 0 Kelvin. So suppose these are the energy states, and we know that the ground state is going to be filled fast and then the higher energy states. So when the electrons occupy the states according to the energy, and finally they occupy the highest energy state, and that state is called as the Fermi level. So we can define the Fermi level once again, that it is the highest occupied level beyond which all the levels are empty at T equal to 0 Kelvin. This is very important. We should remember that only at absolute 0 the highest occupied level is there, and that is what is called as the Fermi level. Beyond this Fermi level all the levels are empty at T equal to 0 Kelvin. Our next task is to find out the electron concentration at T equal to 0 Kelvin. So already we know the density of states, and according to the definition of the Fermi level, we know that only up to the Fermi energy the states are occupied. So we can integrate the density of states from 0 to EF and find out the total number of electrons in the system. And always I am talking about the number of conduction electrons or the free electrons. So what is the free carrier concentration in the metals? So as I told, we have to integrate the density of states, and the limits are from 0 to EF, and we know the expression for the density of states, some constants times root over of E. So the variation of this density of states for the bulk materials with respect to energy is root over of E. So let us integrate it. It is a simple integration. So we will get the term e to the power 3 by 2, and when we put the limits we will get this EF to the power 3 by 2 with some constant terms, where m is the mass of the electron and h cross and pi already we have discussed. These are the constants. So now we can rewrite this particular expression. So the expression for the Fermi energy can be written as h cross square by 2m into 3 pi square n to the power 2 by 3. That means the Fermi energy is going to have a n to the power 2 by 3 variation. So if you know the electron concentration experimentally, then we can find out the Fermi energy at absolute 0 temperature. So this is what is the Fermi energy at absolute 0. So now let us increase the temperature and then find out what happens to the Fermi level and what happens to the electron concentration in the metals. To do that, we know that the distribution of the electrons above the absolute 0 Kelvin is governed by the Fermi function, which we discussed in the previous slides. And the electrons which are near to the Fermi level are only excited, or we call it as smearing out of the energy levels, because the low lying states cannot be excited as the thermal energy is very small. We know that at room temperature the thermal energy is around 26 milli electron volt, which is very small for the low lying states to be excited and cross the Fermi level. And at the other extreme, when the temperature is very high, the electrons, they lose their quantum mechanical character, and the Fermi function reduces to Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. If you look at the Fermi function, and there if we put this term kBT to be very large compared to EF, if we substitute this in the Fermi function, then it reduces to the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. And what is the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution? It is the exponential minus E by kBT. That is what is the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So when the temperature is very high, kBt is very large compared to EF, and the Fermi function reduces to the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. This is what is the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. The same thing can also be seen from the Fermi function plot with respect to energy at a particular temperature. Let us go back to that plot once again. So here if you see, so let me clear the ink. So here if you see, as you keep on increasing the temperature, at last it will become like somewhat like this. So this is what is given by the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So as you keep on increasing the temperature, you can see that the spearing keeps on increasing. So at very high temperature, it reduces completely as an exponentially decaying function with respect to the energy at a particular temperature. So now our task is to obtain the carrier concentration and the Fermi energy at temperatures above the absolute zero temperature. And to do that, we have to use two functions now, because simply if we integrate the density of states, then we will not able to get the proper electron concentration, because we should now have to apply how these states are occupied, and that is governed by the Fermi function. So you have to take the product of the density of states and the Fermi function, and then we have to integrate it in the limit from 0 to infinity, because now EF is not the limit, because the states can lie above EF also. Beyond EF also states can be occupied. So you have to take the limits from 0 to infinity, and the product of GE, which gives the density of states, and FE, which gives the occupation probability, is the Fermi function which gives the occupation probability. You have to take their product and integrate it over the entire energy range. Then we can find out the free electron concentration at T greater than 0 Kelvin. So now let us substitute GE and FE here, and this is how the expression looks like. So what is important is the integrand here. So this term are constant, so we can take it outside the integrand, and this is what is important to us. So now we are having two functions. One is root over of E, and the other one is 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT. So this is integration of two functions u v dx, and we know how to integrate this product of two functions, and the principle is the integration by parts. So let us take one function as root over of E and the other function as 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT, and let us do the integration by parts. So this is the first term and this is the second term. So what is happening in the first term? We have integrated root over of E, that's why we are getting this term 2 by 3 e to the power 3 by 2, keeping the other term constant, that is 1 by 1 plus exponential E minus EF by KT, and the limits are from 0 to infinity. And the second term is the derivative of the second function, which is given as exponential, this bracketed term, by the square of this denominator, because it is of the form 1 by x. The form is 1 by x. So if you take the derivative of 1 by x, then it becomes minus 1 by x square dx, and in this case dx is what? Because there is E minus EF by KT, so dx will become dE by kBt, and as usual this is the integral for root over of E. So now there are these two terms are clear. These two terms we are getting it by integrating this integrand by parts, and this first term, the first term will become 0, because the moment we put the limit as infinity, then this will become exponential infinity. So 1 by infinity will become 0, and the moment we put 0, this entire term will vanish. So in both the limits this will become 0. So the first term will vanish. So the integrand now reduces only to this particular term. So how to integrate this term? To do that, we have to expand this e to the power 3 by 2 term in the neighborhood of EF. We have to use the expansion of the term e to the power 3 by 2 in the neighborhood of EF, and we know that E and EF are very closely situated. That means E minus EF is very small. So how to take the series of this kind of function? So if phi is a function of E and we want to expand phi E in the neighborhood of E equal to EF, then this is the way we can expand it. So first term is the value of the function at EF, second term is E minus EF times the derivative, the first derivative of the function with respect to energy, and second term, the third term is E minus EF whole square by factorial 2 times the second derivative of the function, and the higher order terms which can be ignored because this term is very small, because we know that E minus EF is very small. So E minus EF whole cube and the higher order terms will become nearly equal to 0, so that we can ignore them. So now let us take this function as e to the power 3 by 2 and expand it in the neighborhood of EF. So how this function will look like? This is how it looks like: EF to the power 3 by 2 plus E minus EF, and the first derivative of EF e to the power 3 by 2 will become EF to the power half into 3 by 2. This is how the 3 by 2 factor comes, and similarly the second derivative will give us EF to the power minus half, because it is already it is EF to the power half, and one half factor will come here, so 3 by 4 factor is coming, and it will become, the power will become minus of half, and the higher order terms can be ignored. Now let us rewrite the integrand I. So how the integrand will look like now? So this is how the integrand will look like. In the place of e to the power 3 by 2, we have written this term only. In the place of e by 2, we have written this term. This is what we have done. Nothing else has changed. Okay. So now let us replace this variable e minus ef by kt with a single variable, suppose x, to reduce the complexity. And if we put it x to be equal to e minus ef by kt, then dE will become kBt into dx. Let us do the substitution and rewrite the corresponding integration. And another thing, the lower limit, if I put this, it becomes minus ef by kBt, but since it is kBt is very small compared to ef, we can take it as minus of infinity. So only the states which are occupied will be taken care. Even though we increase the limit, then also we are not going to have any extra states included in this final expression. So we can easily replace this limit from minus ef by kt to minus of infinity. So now let us do that and see how the expression looks like in terms of the variable x. So this is the first term, which contains the term ex by 1 plus e to the power x whole square with some kBt terms. The second term contains e to the power x into x, so there is a x here, so it contains x into e to the power x by 1 plus e to the power x whole square. And the third term contains x square into e to the power x by 1 plus e to the power x whole square. So now we have three standard integrals. One is e to the power x by 1 plus e to the power x whole square. Other one is x e to the power x by 1 plus e to the power x whole square. And the third one is x square into e to the power x by 1 plus e to the power x whole square. And we know the standard values of these integrals. So the first integral, when we take the limit from minus infinity to plus infinity, it is 1. The second integral, which involves the term x e to the power x, is 0, and the third integral, which involves the term x square e to the power x, is pi square by 3. So now let us replace the values of the standard integral into the integration I and see the final result, how the integral looks like. So this is how the integral will look like after putting the limits and using this standard integral. So the first term will become 2 by 3 ef to the power 3 by 2 and 2 into 1 by 2. So this 2 and 1 by 2 will get cancelled out, and the second term will vanish. The third term will contain this pi square by 3 term. So this pi square by 12 is coming into picture, times kbt whole square into ef to the power minus half. So these terms are coming here. So you can see it here. That is what we are having. So first term contains this kbt is getting cancelled out. Second term is completely 0, and third term contains this ef to the power minus half. So now let us come back to the carrier concentration. The complete term can be written as, and before that let us take this ef term as common. So we can take 2 by 3 ef to the power 3 by 2 common, and we can write it as 1 plus pi square by 8 kbt by ef whole square. This is what we can do it by taking this ef to the power 3 by 2 into 2 by 3 as common. This is how the integral looks like. So now let us, as I told, let us go to the carrier concentration. So what will happen to the carrier concentration? So let us put these constants back, and this is the term that we got it just now from by solving the integral, and let us call it as equation A. And already we know at absolute 0 Kelvin we know the expression for the carrier concentration. The same can be verified if we put this term to be equal to 0 at T equal to 0 Kelvin. So if you put T equal to 0 Kelvin, then we can get back the expression that we had seen while discussing the absolute 0 Kelvin carrier concentration. So now if I put this equation B into equation A, then I can achieve a relation between EF and EF naught. If I put this equation B into equation A, then I can get an expression between relation between EF and EF naught. So what is the relation between EF and EF naught? So from equation A and equation B, this is the relation between EF and EF naught. And if I simplify it, because always I know that kbt is very small compared to EF, right? Kbt is very small compared to EF under normal temperatures where we can apply the quantum mechanical conditions. So under that condition, if I apply the binomial expansion, so now the relation between EF and EF naught can be obtained by using the binomial expansion, because kbt is very small compared to EF, and here EF is the Fermi energy at a temperature T, and EF naught is the Fermi energy at T equal to 0 Kelvin. And we can see that EF and EF naught are related with this expression, that is EF is equal to EF naught times 1 minus pi square by 12 into kBt by EF whole square. And since kBt is very small compared to EF, for all discussions we can assume that EF is nearly equal to EF naught. So this is what happens at a temperature which is greater than 0 Kelvin. In the next session we will try to evaluate what happens to the heat capacity. Remember, in the Drude model we had applied the kinetic theory of gases and we had seen that the heat capacity was 3 by 2 nkV, and which was overestimated. So using the quantum mechanical principles, now let us try to estimate the heat capacity and see what proper explanation regarding the behavior of the solids we can obtain. That we will do in the next session.